After being diagnosed with cancer, I found myself transmigrated into a male-oriented novel as the low-grade villain whom everyone despises. I became the sharpening stone and stepping stool on the protagonist's journey to godhood. The system informed me, as long as I maintain a positive favorability rating with those influential figures around the protagonist, I can return to reality and be reborn. In order to survive, I dedicated myself to learning the art of self-sacrifice. I honored my parents, showed love and support to my friends and brothers. I worked hard, studied seriously, helped others, and even secretly sponsored a large number of girls in remote mountainous areas who couldn't afford school. For over 20 years, I put my heart and soul into it. Then the protagonist appeared, and suddenly, every bad deed was attributed to me again. So, all those years of effort, were they for nothing? Finally, I just gave up and awaited death, but those who once wronged me began to feel regret. Chapter 1. Host. Please be aware that after the protagonist's car accident, everyone around you has dropped to the lowest favorability rating. If you cannot increase it within 3 days, your mission will be deemed a failure. The moment I saw off the police officers who came to investigate, the system's voice rang in my head. This was its third warning about the risk of mission failure. This time, it sounded particularly urgent. If the mission fails, in 1 month, I will meet the novel's original fate, organs hollowed out and body discarded as fish food. Facing this imminent threat of death, I hadn't even thought of a way to escape my doomed situation when a call from my father came through. Without waiting for an explanation, he launched into a furious tirade. Are you out of your mind? What the hell were you doing hitting Andrew? Look what's happened now. Your wife is pulling our company's funding because of him. Normally, when faced with my father's sudden outbursts, I would patiently explain things. But maybe because I had already explained myself several times to both my wife, Rose, and the police, this accusation felt especially exhausting. I managed a tired defense. I didn't hit him. If you didn't, then why would he say you did the moment he woke up? Are you suggesting he staged the accident himself? Do you even realize the extent of Andrew's injuries? Both legs shattered, with a chance of lifelong disability. No one would joke about that. If you had guts, why didn't you just kill him outright and save us from this mess? Any desire to keep explaining drained out of me. I let him continue his rant. Get yourself to Andrew and apologize. Beg for his forgiveness, or we're done. His anger hadn't subsided, as he muttered. Why did I deserve such a dim-witted son? I took a deep breath. Fine, I got it. Cut ties, so be it. I was beyond exhausted. My father, stubborn and authoritarian, had inherited the family business under the shadow of his own father. Yet he had no talent for business, and the company had steadily declined in his hands. Over the years, I had worn myself thin to preserve the family's reputation. If I had the choice, I wouldn't want a father like him. But he interpreted my agreement as a commitment to apologize to Andrew. Finally, somewhat satisfied, he added, then get to the hospital. Don't worry about pride or dignity. Whatever he asks of you, you do it. Apologize sincerely, and don't give Andrew any leverage over you. Understood. I remained silent. He continued with his old lecture about how weak I was as a man, unable to keep my wife, blaming me for her siding with an outsider. Blankly, I ended the call, but just as silence settled, another grating voice chimed in. Chapter 2. Alex, how dare you crush someone's legs like that, just because your family has money and connections? You think you can act like a tyrant? A young girl, delicate yet furious, stormed up to me, without giving me a chance to explain. She raised her hand and slapped me across the face. Look at you now. I know you can't stand seeing Andrew and Rose close, but they were lovers before you tore them apart. You made this bed. Now you have to lie in it. How could you hit Andrew? Do you really think that getting rid of him means you'll have a happy life with Rose? Get it through your head. Even if Andrew is disfigured, disabled, or dead, Rose will always love him, no matter what you do. She won't even look at you. The girl in front of me was Ava, someone I had raised as a little sister. At that moment, her eyes were filled with hatred as she looked at me. A pang shot through my chest, but the pain quickly dulled, turning to numbness. After all, I'd been through this scene too many times. The system was busy analyzing Ava's favorability score in my mind, calculating the odds of improving it, but I told it to shut up. Even if I managed to explain, to change Ava's opinion of me and raise her favorability, so what? Sooner or later, some new scheme would come from Andrew, the protagonist, and I'd be saddled with the blame all over again. I'd be forced to grovel for forgiveness, to explain myself all over again under the weight of everyone's misunderstandings and accusations. What's the point of this endless cycle? I'm just a supporting character, a villain, no matter how hard I try to win their favor. In the end, all I receive is suspicion, blame, and a heap of scapegoating. Take this ridiculous car accident. For example, it was Andrew who suddenly jumped in front of my car. I didn't have time to react before he was dragged underneath. Yet when he regained consciousness, He stubbornly insisted that I hit him on purpose. Nobody believes that he would sacrifice his own legs just to frame me. Everyone assumes I attacked him out of jealousy over his closeness to my wife. My parents think this. Ava, like a little sister to me, thinks this. Even my wife, Rose, thinks this. My father even ordered me to apologize at the hospital. Funny thing is, I had just come back from there. In fact, Rose had already slapped me in this exact spot at the hospital. She stood beside Andrew's hospital bed, her eyes red as she accused me of being a murderer, a twisted psycho. As soon as Andrew woke up and told her I had intentionally run him over, she didn't hesitate to call the police, accusing me of attempted murder. No regard for the fact that I was her husband of 3 years. Having seen Rose's furious, hateful face as if she wished I were dead, looking at Ava now only amused me. When she saw me smile, her anger flared even hotter. You're laughing, Alex. Do you feel no guilt at all? You crushed both of Andrew's legs. He's a living human being, and you can laugh. Do you have no respect for life? Chapter 3. Respect for life? Maybe that's a question for Andrew, a grown man, willing to risk his own body to falsely accuse me. If we're talking about a lack of respect for life, who's truly guilty here? But now, I was too tired to say anything. They were all convinced I was the villain, that I'd done it intentionally. No matter how many times I protested, they wouldn't believe me. Just like countless times before, I was done. Let it all fall apart. So, as Ava stood there on her high horse, I let go. Fine. It's all my fault. So, what do you want me to do to make it right? Give him my legs as compensation? Or is one pair of legs not enough? Maybe I should just throw in my life while I'm at it. To you all, a wretch like me shouldn't even be allowed to breathe. Right? Don't act so dramatic. Using death to threaten me. You're just a selfish coward who'd never dare go through with it. If you have any guts, just end it right here and now. I dare you. Ava's words were biting. Looking at her, I felt that all the care I'd shown her over the years had gone to waste. Ava was just an ungrateful brat. Selfish. Me. Does she even remember? Who was there when her parents abandoned her, mistreating her just because she was a girl? Who took her in and convinced our parents to adopt her? Who shielded her when her biological parents resurfaced years later, pressuring her to donate a kidney to a brother she barely knew? It was me. She used to rely on me, saying I was the best person in her world and that she'd repay me for the rest of her life. Now, she wouldn't even call me her brother. She used my name, Alex, just like anyone else. Even worse, she blindly believed I was this cruel villain without hearing a word of my side. Disappointment and disgust filled her gaze whenever she looked at me, and I'd had enough. Now, she stared at me with that same look, expecting me to back down. Her expression said it all. She thought I was all talk. Seeing her gloating, that smug look on her face, I felt a wave of bitterness rise within me. Hell, the mission was impossible anyway. In a month, I'd be brutally killed, my organs harvested. Compared to that slow death, I might as well take matters into my own hands. At least it'd be over in an instant. Close my eyes, and I wouldn't have to deal with any of this anymore. I grabbed the fruit knife from the coffee table. The blade glinted as it caught the light. Ava continued to mock me, fanning the flames. Don't think you'll scare me with this. If you don't have the guts to die, go to Andrew and apologize. Take responsibility for what you've done. I laughed. As you wish. Then, I drew the blade down hard across my neck. A warm surge of blood spurted out. Oddly, I felt no pain, only a sense of relief and release. Maybe this was for the best. Ava's eyes widened in shock, frozen as she stared at me. Seconds later, she screamed, You. Alex, somebody call an ambulance. Chapter 4. I drifted into darkness, my consciousness hazy and detached from my body. The system's frantic voice broke through the void. Host, what are you doing? Are you giving up on the mission? I was indifferent. The mission's impossible to complete anyway, and either way, I die. What difference does it make? It's all meaningless. The system fell silent. In fact, this world was the setting of a male-oriented novel. I'd even read it before. The protagonist was Andrew, playing the classic underdog who rises to success. Along his journey, he meets many benefactors who guide, support, and help him achieve his dreams of becoming a business tycoon. In my real life, I was a lot like Andrew, an orphan with no family, struggling as an ordinary wage earner. But unlike Andrew, who seemed to have allies everywhere, I had none. I was just another average office worker, pulling late nights and long hours, scolded by bosses, and taking the blame when things went wrong. I used to imagine what it'd be like if, like Andrew, I could meet a few benefactors. Maybe then I'd also have a shot at success. But luck wasn't on my side. Instead, due to years of drinking with clients, irregular hours, and stress, I was diagnosed with cancer at a young age. Stage 4, no less. Money for treatment wasn't even the issue. It was too advanced to bother with. I'd already given up hope. Yet, Just as I was about to die, fate decided to give me a chance after all. The system reached out to me, asking if I wanted to enter a book and complete a mission. If I succeeded, I'd be fully cured and regain my health in the real world. Who wouldn't grab at the chance? Of course, I accepted, but instead of becoming the protagonist, Andrew, I was placed in the role of the novel's villain, Alex. The system informed me that my mission was to help Alex, a despised antagonist, earn the favor of the important side characters around the protagonist. I needed to prevent Alex from meeting his original, brutal fate at the protagonist's hands. The protagonist had to stay morally pure. In the original story, Alex's end, being sold to a Southeast Asian scam ring and having his organs harvested, was too brutal, and readers had voiced their disapproval. That's why they chose me. Back then, I was naive, thinking that I just had to make the villain a good guy so the protagonist's team wouldn't hate him. Sounded simple enough, so I eagerly agreed to the mission. Chapter 5. The system had me start from infancy. To make sure Alex lived a life completely different from the original, I figured that starting from scratch would make the mission relatively easy. I thought, as long as I didn't mess things up, there was no reason for a villain to end up despised and mutilated. So, I was an obedient child, never cried or fussed, always acted mature beyond my age, and showed signs of intelligence early on. My parents were proud to have such an outstanding child and treated me well. I didn't disappoint them. I had none of the spoiled, arrogant behavior expected of a wealthy kid. At school, I was friendly and diligent. At home, I was respectful to my parents and looked after the neighborhood children. Soon enough, I became known as the model child that everyone admired. Whenever my name came up, people would rave, "That Alex, what a well-behaved kid. If only my child could be like Alex, good grades, great temperament." I started to lose myself in all the praise. I even thought that maybe I didn't need to return to the real world. Here, I had a privileged family and loving parents. In my real life, I was just a lonely, sick office worker with no family. Whenever I thought this way, though, the system would remind me not to get too attached. This isn't your world, so don't get too involved. Besides, the original parents aren't the key people for the mission. The system insisted I work hard because the most crucial figure in the protagonist's circle of benefactors was Miss Lee, the heiress of an established, affluent family. You need to earn her favor and ensure she doesn't dislike you. That's the priority. At that time, while my family was wealthy, we were nowhere near the stature of the Lee family, whose legacy spanned generations. Under normal circumstances, I would have no reason to cross paths with them, but fate works in mysterious ways. When I was 10, I met Ava, a character in the novel who was fated to love the protagonist from afar. She had been abandoned by her parents, who favored her younger brother. In an amusement park, I was there with some classmates when I stumbled upon 6-year-old Ava, lost and crying, searching for her parents. According to the storyline, Ava would have been trafficked and sold to a mountain village, where she was to be a child bride to the protagonist. Later, when the protagonist made it to college, he brought his pitiful little sister with him to the city. But her bad fortune continued. After reuniting with her biological parents, she was forced to donate a kidney to the brother she barely knew. This left her feeling so inferior that she ultimately faded away from the world. I couldn't bear it, so I took her home and persuaded my parents to adopt her. Adopting Ava gave me an idea. I decided to support other girls in the mountains who couldn't afford an education. I put all my allowance into a charity and began sponsoring a girl in a poor village 2 years younger than me. Little did I know at the time, but this girl was destined to become the protagonist's key benefactor, Rose. Chapter 6. So, are you really planning to abandon the mission, even if it means you'll be erased permanently, never to return to the real world? The system's voice cut through my thoughts. I replied that I was. With the mission doomed, returning to the real world would only lead to death anyway. What was the point in struggling anymore? Can you let go of your parents, your friends, everything you have in this world? What about Rose? Can you let go of her? Hearing the name Rose silenced me. There was a twisted fate between us, one I couldn't deny. In the beginning, I had no idea that the person I'd been sponsoring all those years was actually Rose. Back then, she went by the name Lara. In my 3rd year of college, the Lee Corporation decided to set up a special fund called the Elite Talent Program at my university to support outstanding but underprivileged students. Hoping to build a closer connection with the Lee family, I convinced my father to donate to the fund. When the fund was launched, the school selected outstanding students to receive the scholarship, and the Lee Corporation's chairman personally attended the award ceremony. Among the recipients was Lara, now known as Rose. At first glance, the chairman suspected she might be his long-lost granddaughter, who had been kidnapped for ransom by a former housekeeper. He quickly arranged for a DNA test, and sure enough, Lara was indeed a Lee. Thus, Lara changed her name to Rose and went from an impoverished student to the heiress of the prestigious Lee family. This revelation caused quite a stir at our school. It was only then that I realized I had already crossed paths with Rose, an important figure in my mission. It's impossible to deny that I was excited. The system also noted my unintended stroke of luck. Without my financial support, Rose would never have had the chance to leave her remote village and reunite with her family. In theory, with this debt of gratitude, Rose would be forever grateful to me, and her favorability should naturally be high. Indeed, Rose was deeply grateful to her benefactor, so much so that she even considered dedicating herself to him. Unfortunately, she thought that benefactor was Andrew, the protagonist. Chapter 7. Neither the system nor I anticipated that, the moment Andrew appeared, the credit for sponsoring Rose transferred to him. For some reason, when Andrew, who was a year behind Rose, enrolled, she became firmly convinced that he was her benefactor. Due to the buzz around her identity as the long-lost Lee heiress, this belief of hers brought Andrew attention as well. Everyone at University X knew that the Lee family's young lady was smitten with a poor boy from the mountains, guarding him like he was her most precious treasure. The system reassured me that this was probably an inevitable quirk of the storyline. Although your efforts have been attributed to the protagonist, at least Rose doesn't dislike you. After being welcomed back into the Lee family, Rose was introduced to high society at a grand banquet thrown by the Lees. Our Sioux family was among those invited, and since we had also contributed to the scholarship fund, Mr. Lee even specifically introduced Rose to me. He knew I was the student body president and asked me to look after his granddaughter at school. Rose politely called me Brother Alex and seemed quiet and demure. After that, she joined the student council, and we gradually became good friends. Her favorability rating toward me once peaked at 60%. Even without the gratitude, you have a good relationship with her. Just keep it that way. But as I spent time with Rose, I found myself falling for this intelligent and beautiful girl. She was resilient, driven, and filled with purpose. Even after rejoining the Lee family, she never let privilege go to her head. She focused on her studies, planning carefully for her future. Pursuing her became more than a mission. It became a personal desire. Chasing Rose seemed like the obvious choice, but as soon as I made my feelings known, her favorability dipped slightly. She told me she wasn't considering romance at the moment, and if she ever did, it would only be with Andrew. I knew that the protagonist's pride and sense of dignity made him reluctant to rely on Rose. He felt that being with her would make him look like he was living off her wealth. So despite his slight attraction to her, he didn't accept her feelings. The system warned me again not to get too attached and reminded me that failing the mission would trap me here forever. But I was blinded by my own desires. I began to think that staying here wouldn't be so bad. At least here, I had someone to love, a privileged background, and a supportive family, more happiness than I'd ever known in my real life. Chapter 8. Despite the system's disapproval, I persisted in pursuing Rose to earn her favor. For a time, her favorability did rise, but then a crisis hit our family. My father invested in the wrong project, causing a financial strain on the company. In a panic, he secretly approached the Lees, using proof of my past sponsorship of Rose as leverage. I have no idea what was discussed, but in the end, Rose agreed to marry me. This was the turning point that brought our relationship to rock bottom. I'll never forget our wedding night. After the guests had left, Rose tore off her veil and trashed the carefully decorated room. Alex, I didn't expect you to be so despicable. After I turned you down, you fabricated some story of past kindness. My grandfather fell for it, too, and, with my cousins pushing him, forced me into marrying you. You've ruined my life, do you understand that? At the time, I thought she meant her life was ruined because she'd lost any chance with Andrew. So I explained to her that I really was her benefactor. If she could fall in love with Andrew over that debt, why couldn't she love me? But Rose refused to believe a single word I said. She thought it was all a carefully crafted lie. 2 months into our marriage, at a Lee family gathering, I accompanied Rose back to the Lee's home. By chance, I overheard her cousins talking in a secluded corner. Only then did I understand what she meant by ruining her life. Rose was ambitious, talented, and far outshone her cousins. Her parents had suffered from her abduction. One had died. The other had lost their sanity, leaving her with only her grandfather's support in the family. She had intended to leverage her grandfather's guilt to secure resources, but her abilities threatened her cousins' positions, so they banded together against her. When my father approached the Lees, he unwittingly delivered the perfect opportunity to her cousins, who pushed for our marriage. I felt a deep sense of guilt and offered all my resources to support Rose in her rivalry with her cousins. In the following years, as she gradually regained power within the Lee Corporation, our relationship began to improve. But just when things were starting to look up, Andrew returned from overseas, launching his own company with business ties to the Lees. Once again, Rose reconnected with Andrew, and that's when my real nightmare began. Chapter 9. With Andrew back in my life, he began to live what one might call a calamitous existence. His usual vitamins were mysteriously swapped for hallucinogens. His car was tampered with on multiple occasions. And throughout his business ventures, he faced relentless setbacks, with his company on the brink of collapse several times. Each incident led back to one person, me. Of course, I hadn't actually done any of these things. It was clear that Andrew was orchestrating everything himself. Every time he harmed himself and blamed it on me, Rose would intervene, using her connections to compensate him. In just a year, Andrew's fledgling company had expanded significantly, becoming a rising star in the business world, capturing widespread attention. But in reality, if not for Rose's open and covert support, he'd still be struggling to secure investments. Each time she stepped in to help him, she would cut off my funding as a form of warning. Our relationship, which I had worked so hard to repair, sank to rock bottom once more. Over time, even my parents started to resent me. They saw me as a disgrace, a failure who could only bring misfortune. Having gone from the pride of the family to a worthless disappointment, the most painful betrayal, however, came from Ava, who, like in the original story, had fallen for Andrew. Her affection for him led to a deep-seated prejudice against me. If even they felt this way, Rose's hatred was even more understandable. Remembering how she slapped me in the hospital, told me to die, and called me a murderer, I chuckled bitterly. Fine. Forcing things won't bring any sweetness. I'm done trying. The system was silent. After a long pause, it finally said, "You've done good deeds for so many years. You've set up numerous foundations to aid disaster-stricken and impoverished regions. Although it hasn't changed the protagonist's group's view of you, you've gained a reputation among ordinary people who have no ties to the storyline. You've altered many lives. That reputation can be used to allow you to return to the real world and reclaim a healthy body." I'd already given up hope, but the system offered me an unexpected twist. Chapter 10. The system informed me, however, that this opportunity came with a price. My terminal illness from the real world would be transferred to this body, and as Alex, I would have to endure the pain of cancer until the very end. Suicide would not be an option. I accepted. After all, it was my own illness. If I could endure it in this world, I could return to reality, alive and healthy. Why wouldn't I go for it? The system promised to reappear on the day of my death. "Take care of yourself," it said before disappearing. As it left, I opened my eyes. Emerging from the darkness, the first thing I saw was Ava's tear-stained face. When she saw I was awake, she rushed over, sobbing, "Brother, I." Tears started streaming down her cheeks again as she choked on her words. "I didn't mean to push you to this. I never thought you'd actually go through with it. You almost didn't make it. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said those things." My neck throbbed painfully, and her sobs grated on my nerves. "Could you please cry somewhere else? Your voice is irritating." Ava froze. I'd always been gentle and kind to her. I sympathized with her for being abandoned by her parents, and I worried about her being overly sensitive. Growing up in someone else's family, I would accompany her, help her make friends, tutor her, and try to win approval from her parents and teachers on her behalf. When her biological parents tricked her away to harvest a kidney for her brother, I was the one who reported it to the police, who stayed up with me for 3 days searching until we found her and sent those despicable people to prison. But when Andrew slandered me, she'd merely said, "Brother, what happened to you? You look so ugly," with all this jealousy toward Andrew. When I married Rose, she blamed me for forcing Andrew to leave the country. "It's all your fault, pushing Rose and Andrew apart. Are you that desperate for a woman? You had to steal from Andrew." She would accuse me of being petty and vindictive, of being a vicious excuse for a man. She never held back on her words or tone, regardless of how hurtful they were. But now, after I told her she was annoying, her eyes turned red, and she burst into tears. Just then, the doctor entered the room, frowning. "The patient needs rest, ma'am. Please keep it down." Ava finally fell silent. The doctor glanced around the room and settled his gaze on Ava. "Are you the patient's family?" Ava said yes, while I said no. She looked at me in disbelief, her eyes showing a hint of hurt. The doctor looked from her to me. I could sense he'd likely discovered my cancer, so I said calmly, "Please, just talk to me directly. I'm aware of my condition." He held my gaze for a few seconds, then sighed and handed me a report. "Stage 4 liver cancer. There's not much time left." I nodded. Perhaps I seemed too calm, for the doctor couldn't resist adding, "Try to stay positive. Eat whatever you like and focus on comfort. Hospice care can help manage the pain." There was genuine sympathy in his voice. It had been a long time since I'd felt such kindness from anyone around me. I accepted his advice and thanked him. Chapter 11. But Ava let out a scream. "Doctor, what are you talking about? Terminal liver cancer? No, that can't be possible." She snatched the CT report from my hands. Seeing the unmistakable CA marking at the bottom, her face fell apart as she looked back at the doctor. "This isn't real, is it?" The doctor looked at her sympathetically. "Please accept my condolences." Then he nodded at me and left the room. Ava's face was as pale as a ghost. Her lips trembled, and after a long pause, She slapped herself hard across the face. What have I done? You're dying of cancer. And I was still pushing you to your death. I'm a monster, brother. I'm sorry, I sneered. Oh, no need to apologize. I'm the villain you always said I was. Constantly scheming against your beloved Andrew. Now that my suicide attempt failed, Karma stepped in to make sure I die from a terminal illness. She lunged forward, pressing her hand over my mouth. Please, stop saying that. I'll go find Sister Rose. Her eyes lit up. Yes, Sister Rose. She's your wife. She should be here with you, taking care of you. I watched, bemused, as she frantically took out her phone and dialed Rose's number. She put it on speaker. After a moment, Rose's calm voice came through the line. Hello, Ava. The second Ava heard her voice, she broke into sobs. Rose, please, can you come see my brother? Rose went silent, oblivious. Ava continued. He cut himself, and he lost so much blood. I brought him to the hospital, and the doctors say he has cancer, that he doesn't have much time left. Please, can you come take care of him? Rose let out a cold laugh. Ava, aren't you the one who hates your brother's hypocritical, toxic nature? Why are you joining him in trying to deceive me now? If he thinks he can fake an illness to dodge responsibility, he's got another thing coming. You tell him that I'm hiring the best legal team to seek justice for Andrew. He can rot in prison for the rest of his life. Ava was dumbstruck. No, I'm not lying to you. Fine, let's say it's true. Rose cut her off, her voice laced with malice. Alex has cancer. Then finally, justice is served. It's his punishment for all the harm he's caused. With that, she hung up. Ava stared at the phone in shock. How could this happen? I scoffed at her attempt to appear compassionate. You've always known how Rose feels about me. Don't pretend now. You probably wanted me to hear her say all that, didn't you? And you call me the cruel one, Ava. But you're just as heartless. She clutched her head, crying out, No, I'm not. I didn't mean it like that. I really wanted her to come. She's your wife. How could she abandon you like this? But wait, there's still Mom and Dad. She reached out to hold my hand. Brother, it's okay. If Rose won't come, then we still have Mom and Dad. I pulled my hand away from her. Chapter 12. A flash of hurt crossed Ava's face, but she quickly forced herself to be strong. It's okay, brother. Don't worry. I'll go get Mom and Dad. I was utterly exhausted. Could you please leave? I don't want to see Rose, my parents, or even you. Can I just die in peace? Tears started streaming down Ava's already swollen eyes. She didn't dare say anything more, quietly arranging for a nurse to stay with me before she stepped outside. Because of the blood loss, my head was dizzy, and soon enough, I drifted into unconsciousness again. When I awoke, it was to the sound of raised voices. I opened my eyes to find my father and Ava arguing at my bedside, while my mother tried to calm them down. So he tried to pull a stunt with this suicide business, and now Rose is furious. Our company's funding chain has completely collapsed, and he's here, still shamelessly sleeping in the hospital. Doesn't care at all, does he? Ava anxiously tried to hold him back. Dad, my brother is seriously ill. He's not faking it. Please, calm down. My father turned to me, his face red with rage. Alex, why didn't you just die and spare us the mess? Rose is out for blood, not only cutting off our funds but threatening to swallow the whole Sue family. You've ruined everything, you damn jinx of a son. Seeing that I was awake, he glared at me. The Sue family's downfall is on you. How did I end up with a cursed son like you? My mother, noticing I was awake, began to cry. Son, you foolish boy, how could you use suicide to threaten Rose? She responds better to softness, not force. Now she's not only cut off our funds but taken several major contracts from the company. Your father's just overwhelmed with anger. Listen to me, go apologize to Andrew. Beg Rose to show us some mercy for the sake of your marriage. Ava raised her voice in protest. Begging won't help. Rose has no conscience. My brother is deathly ill, and she's still cursing him. We don't need her. My father slapped her hard across the face. You're just an adopted child. Who are you to speak up here? Do you realize the only reason you're eating well and living comfortably is because of the Sue family? If the Sue family falls, who do you think you are? Ava covered her face, looking at him in disbelief. My mother, seemingly deaf to Ava's plight, continued to cry as she turned back to me. Don't leave us old and helpless. Everything we do is for you. The Sue family will eventually be yours. We're only asking you to apologize to Rose. Once the company stabilizes, your father and I will make it up to you. Okay, I chuckled. I already cut ties with you. My mother's crying stopped short, and my father's glare intensified. What did you just say? Chapter 13. I looked at the man I had called Dad for over 20 years. You told me that if I didn't apologize, you'd disown me. Well, here we are. You. His finger shook as he pointed at me. Ungrateful son. Traitor. Ungrateful. Traitor. I scoffed, Finally fed up. I'm tired. I've had enough. Every time you refuse to listen. Remember that project a few years ago? The one that caused the company's cash flow crisis? I warned you not to invest in it, didn't I? And last year, you fired our top 2 sales champions, and they took our biggest clients with them to our competitors. And how about taking HR's advice to improve leadership, only to drive away so many loyal employees? You've run this company your whole life, yet you don't seem to understand that the moment a company starts tearing itself apart from the inside, it's already on the path to collapse. His face turned a dangerous shade of purple. I continued, unyielding. Bankruptcy is your destiny, not mine. Let's be clear, the Su family's failure is because of you, not me. Stop trying to pin your failures on me. You, how dare you? I'm your father. You don't speak to me like this. No, you're not my father. He lunged at me in a fit of rage, and my mother didn't try to stop him. It was Ava who finally jumped in, blocking him and shouting, "Don't hit him, Dad. My brother has cancer. It's terminal. It's untreatable." Her words froze him in place, and my mother looked equally stunned. "What did you say?" he asked, his voice faltering. Ava covered her face and began sobbing. "How could things turn out like this? Mom, Dad, how can you be so cruel to him? He's dying. He has late-stage liver cancer. He can't be cured." My mother's face went pale, and she fainted with a thud. My father's breath came in heavy, disbelieving gasps. But disbelief soon turned into acceptance as they left the room with Ava to speak to the doctor, returning with faces of grim realization. The man who had just been cursing me, praying for my death, came back looking shattered, shoulders hunched. "As you wished. I'll soon be dead and out of your sight. No longer an embarrassment or a failure." His eyes were rimmed with red, and he opened his mouth to say something but couldn't find the words. After a moment, my mother came to, and when she saw me, she tried to rush forward, only to be blocked by the hospital staff. "This room is far too noisy," the doctor scolded as he entered. "Other patients have been complaining. Are you even his real family? How many times do we have to tell you that he needs peace and quiet? Or do you want him to die even faster?" My mother seemed to snap back to reality, clutching the doctor's sleeve tightly. "He's really terminal. This can't be true, right? He's only 28. How can he already be at the final stage? Please, save him, save him." Before the doctor could respond, I spoke up. "Save me? What for? When I slit my throat, you wanted me to apologize to Andrew. If I survived, would I just be a puppet to serve you two for the rest of my life?" My mother's face turned deathly pale, unable to reply. Chapter 14. Now that I had cancer, it seemed like Ava and my parents had suddenly found a conscience. They finally started believing that I wasn't the type of person to harm Andrew. They even decided to help me clear my name. But it was far too late. Where were they when I needed support? I didn't need them now. I could clear my own name if that was what I wanted. There were still things like surveillance footage and dashcams in this world. The day Andrew jumped in front of my car, getting caught beneath it, I was in shock. After I got him to the hospital, I knew this setup would eventually be pinned on me, so I immediately went back to retrieve the car's dashcam footage. But someone had tampered with it, disconnecting the dashcam completely, leaving nothing recorded. The police retrieved footage from the parking lot, but I also managed to track down another car owner who had parked nearby and gotten footage of the incident. I just hadn't had the chance to submit it to the police before I let my emotions get the best of me and slit my throat. Now that I was awake again, I made the call, reporting that someone had tried to frame me for attempted murder. So, my parents and Ava could only stand by, watching as the police entered my hospital room to hear my statement. I recounted the events clearly, handing over a USB drive. My dashcam was tampered with, but other cars captured the incident. If the parking lot footage doesn't yield anything, this should suffice as evidence. The officer in charge nodded thoughtfully as he took the evidence. "I'll make sure you get justice." After the police left, my father awkwardly said, "Andrew is cunning. I heard Rose hired a legal team to help him with his case. Maybe I should." Before he could finish, there was a knock on the door. 3 young men entered my hospital room, full of energy and confidence. The one leading them extended his hand to me. "Mr. Su, it's an honor. I'm Martin, one of the students you sponsored. I graduated from XX Law School, and it's my privilege to assist you in any way I can." The other 2 stepped forward, excitedly. "We're also students you supported. We all graduated from the same law school and now work at Hean Law Firm. We're fully licensed lawyers, and Martin here is a senior partner. With him on your side, your case will be in excellent hands." My father's face turned a mix of red and green. Chapter 15. With Martin handling things, I felt at ease, knowing that as long as I died here, I would return to my world. I refused all treatment, not even palliative care. This hastened my decline. Ava and my parents took turns pleading with me to seek treatment, but I ignored them. Their cries grated on my nerves, so I asked Martin to arrange for guards to keep them out. While that kept my family away, it didn't deter Rose. Martin acted quickly. He released my evidence to the public before the police, rallying public opinion against Andrew. He also uncovered other illegal activities connected to Andrew based on the information I provided. For instance, Andrew's company had ties with Southeast Asian scam syndicates, hinting at money laundering. Since he was so close to the Lee family, even Rose was dragged into the mess. She ended up getting questioned by the authorities multiple times. After one such session, she came looking for me. It was the first time she'd visited me since I was admitted. By now, nearly a month had passed since Andrew's staged accident. In that short time, everything had changed. Maybe it was because I had resolved to let go of this world, but when I saw Rose again, I felt nothing. Even she seemed taken aback by my appearance. You look so thin now." Then, as if realizing something, she asked urgently, "Ava was telling the truth. You really have cancer?" Her face was filled with disbelief. I couldn't help but feel exasperated. I'd seen that same shocked expression on every single person's face, as if I were some immortal villain who didn't deserve a disease. "What do you want?" I didn't care to engage in small talk. Rose was still in shock. How did this happen? Seeing her at a loss for words, I signaled to the nurse to show her out. Rose quickly spoke up. "Don't make me leave. I have something to discuss with you." I waved my hand, and the nurse stepped aside. She lowered her gaze, avoiding my eyes, her voice hesitant. "Now I know that it wasn't you who did all that. I wronged you. I'm sorry. I've also restored your family's funds." I cut her off. "If that's all you have to say, you can leave." Rose's face fell. She closed her eyes briefly, as if bracing herself, then spoke in a pleading tone. "Andrew changed my life. He sponsored me, giving me a chance at a new destiny. He's my savior. Can't you, for my sake, let him go just this once?" Chapter 16. Rose's words made it clear. She was asking me to let go of Andrew. Looking at her, I couldn't help but find it laughable. Once, I admired her for her intelligence and resilience. Now, I only saw her foolishness. Originally, I reported Andrew out of personal grievances, but now that Martin had uncovered his company's illegal activities, it was no longer just about me. Even if I dropped the charges, the authorities wouldn't. I chuckled. "You've been close to Andrew for so long. Don't you know anything about his background?" A hint of embarrassment crossed Rose's face. "Close? Don't make it sound so scandalous. I may be married, but I wouldn't do anything inappropriate with him." I cut her off. "He's a poor kid from the mountains. He only got through school by leeching off his 3 sisters. Just how naive are you to believe that he was the one who funded your education?" Rose froze, as if this possibility had never even occurred to her. I ignored her, signaling the nurse to show her out. Within days, I heard from Martin that the Lee Corporation had started to aggressively crush Andrew's business. With the police investigation underway, his company quickly collapsed. Rose discovered that Andrew had tricked her with a few fake bank drafts to make it look like he was her benefactor. Martin informed me, Andrew had been clever enough not to outright claim he was her sponsor. Instead, he'd staged a coincidental encounter, where a few forged drafts accidentally fell in front of Rose. The simple trick had fooled her for years. Enraged by her own foolishness, Rose went after Andrew ruthlessly. But Andrew, always cautious, had managed to siphon funds from his investors and fled to Southeast Asia before his company fully went under. Of course, if he could run, it proved that his compound fractures from my supposed attack were just an act. Rose, however, wasn't about to let this go. Using her connections, she cut off his escape route and had him dragged back. Before handing him over to the authorities, she even brought him to see me, saying she wanted him to kneel and beg for forgiveness. I didn't see them. None of this mattered to me anymore. Later, Martin told me that when Rose realized I wouldn't meet them, she turned her fury on Andrew. She ran him over with her car, breaking his legs for real, and then delivered him to the police. The Lee family hushed up the incident, but Rose's brutal behavior had unsettled the family. As Martin peeled an apple for me, he remarked, "Mr. Sue, their reckoning is only beginning." I told him not to bother with the apple. I couldn't stomach anything anymore. Aside from painkillers, I refused any treatment, so my condition deteriorated rapidly. I was almost constantly drowsy, rarely fully awake, and even when I was, I felt nauseous, my bones aching. Martin's eyes reddened as he whispered, "Can't you hold on just a little longer, just until you see their downfall?" I shook my head. "It's fine. You all can witness it for me. I'll go ahead." He gripped the apple, his throat tightening, unable to speak. Chapter 17. In my final days, I drifted in and out of consciousness. Occasionally, I would awaken enough to hear what was happening around me, but I was too weak to think, too tired to care. I heard Ava's soft sobs, my father's murmurs of regret, and my mother's breakdowns. Anne. I thought I heard someone kneeling by my bed, slapping themselves and begging for forgiveness, promising to make it up to me in the next life. My eyelids fluttered, but I couldn't summon the strength to speak. If I could, I would have said, please, stay as far away as possible. I didn't know how much time passed after that. Then the system's voice stirred me awake. Everything is over. It's time for you to go back. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in my small rented apartment. The air conditioner hummed softly, blowing lukewarm air. I threw off the covers, ran to the bathroom, and looked at the reflection of my old, familiar face in the mirror. I was back. I had truly returned. My phone buzzed unexpectedly. I picked it up out of habit. Hello. May I speak with Mr. Pablo Su? I was momentarily stunned. Pablo, that was my name in the real world. It took a second to adjust to hearing it again. Yes, this is he. Mr. Su. We're calling from First People's Hospital's oncology department. It appears your report was accidentally mixed up with another patient's. We apologize sincerely. You are not sick. This was an error caused by one of our interns who input the information incorrectly. I stepped out of the bathroom and pulled open the curtains, welcoming the sunlight. Life was good. I had a chance to return to a simple, ordinary life. Just then, the system spoke up again. When you passed away, everyone's favorability toward you reached its peak. You successfully altered Alex's fate. Now, he's become a cherished memory for everyone, a white moonlight in their lives. The mission is complete. You have the chance to return and witness their outcomes, or even to start anew in that world. Do you want to go back? I chuckled. Starting over there? No, thank you. I just want to live in the present. But the idea of seeing what became of them intrigued me. So the system allowed me to return in spirit to witness their fates. After I passed, my parents seemed to lose their will. They abandoned the company and left it in Ava's hands, choosing instead to join a monastery. As for Ava, after her biological parents were released from prison, they came looking for her again, with no one to warn her or protect her this time. She was foolish enough to trust them. They took her to a private hospital and harvested one of her kidneys. She eventually sought revenge, but her health was never the same. Bedridden for most of her life, she died at 40 from kidney failure. Then there was Rose and Andrew. Andrew lost his legs due to Rose's revenge and spent 7 or 8 years in prison, festering with resentment. Once released, he threw everything he had into seeking revenge. One of Andrew's gang members eventually kidnapped Rose. She was tortured for days on end. When the Lee family finally rescued her, she was left crippled, her legs shattered, and her mind on the brink of madness. She spent her days muttering about retribution. As for Andrew's gang, the police eventually hunted them down, killing them on the spot. Rose was sent to a nursing home. Her 2 cousins reclaimed their hold on the family, and after her grandfather passed, they ignored her entirely. Rose eventually passed away in a harsh winter, her body never quite recovering. They said she died calling out my name. The system informed me. You could speak to her soul. She truly spent the rest of her life repenting. I responded. Not all sins can be forgiven. I think it's time for me to move on. The system paused. Are you sure you don't want to live a new life there? In your original world, you were just an ordinary orphan. Here, you'd have a wealthy family and endless resources. This time, Andrew wouldn't be around. I interrupted. Ordinary life sounds just fine. I shouldn't look down on my original world because that's where the real me belongs. I had lost myself and indulged in that other world. But now, I finally understood. There's nothing wrong with living a simple, unremarkable life. My wife was always cold and distant. In 10 years of marriage, she never said she loved me. Before I died, I discovered a love letter she had prepared for a long time, but it wasn't addressed to me. It turns out she was just indifferent to me. The first thing I did after being reborn was cancel our engagement and help her deliver the love letter. She turned red with anger and, for the first time, yelled at me. Hugh, who asked you to meddle in my affairs? Chapter 1. 1 hour before the elevator accident, I was cleaning the attic and found a yellowed love letter. The handwriting was familiar. The signature was familiar, but the name at the beginning was not mine. This was a love letter Celine wrote to another man. As the elevator plummeted, I was still wondering. I hadn't even had the chance to find out who the man she loved was, what he looked like, or if he was much better than me. Chapter 2. When I woke up again, the sun outside was blinding. My head was foggy, and my brother Domingo sighed beside me. You finally woke up. You scared me to death just now. Luckily, the people around you reacted quickly and brought you to the infirmary. The boy in front of me, wearing a high school uniform, left me momentarily confused. 17-year-old Domingo. The warm sensation in my hands told me that everything was not a dream. I had really been reborn. I heard the sound of running footsteps, and a figure flashed in the light and appeared before me. Are you okay? Celine looked at me indifferently, holding bread and milk in her hands. Familiar memories were instantly triggered. Yes, that day I had overslept and didn't have time for breakfast, and I fainted during the morning exercises due to low blood sugar. Celine handed me the food and watched as I ate it. That morning, Celine had a small physics test in her class, but she skipped it because of me, and later got scolded by the class teacher. 17-year-old me was still lost in the fantasy that she cared about me, but with the mindset of a 32-year-old. I now knew that Celine only took care of me because she had promised her father she would. Celine's father and my dad were comrades in arms. Later, when her father died in the line of duty, Celine's mother took the compensation money and left. Seeing that Celine was left alone, my dad took her in and raised her. Because she was living under someone else's roof, she always obeyed my dad and never dared to go against him. From that day on, Celine became my little follower. Everyone secretly joked about us behind our backs, saying I had a well-behaved child bride. Later, when my dad noticed my little crush, he teased Celine, saying she would be our family's daughter-in-law in the future. She didn't say a word. Back then, I thought she was shy and reserved, but looking back now, I realize how foolish I was. Chapter 3. During class, I was distracted, constantly replaying the events of my previous life. I don't want to drag Celine down with me anymore. Probably, if I don't marry her, she will be much happier, and maybe I won't die in the end. During the evening self-study session, the teacher went over time by 10 minutes, and after class, the students rushed out in a crowd. As I packed my things, I noticed Celine standing at the door, waiting for me for quite some time, her head down, looking at the book of mistakes in her hand. The light shone on her, making her appear even more distant and cold. We walked out of the school building in silence. Celine was always like this, aloof, indifferent, as if nothing interested her. Watching her walk ahead, I suddenly stopped. Celine, you should go home first. You don't need to walk with me anymore, and you don't have to wait for me in the future. Why? There's no reason. You're free now, Celine. I headed towards the back street of the school, planning to buy a few exercise books to work on my weak math skills. Behind me, someone caught up and asked coldly, Hugh, what's wrong with you this time? Is it because I was late this morning, or did you not like the milk I bought? The supermarket only had that flavor left. The moonlight shone on her, casting a cold and desolate glow. Her eyes seemed to say, what on earth are you up to now? I tried to explain, it's really not that. The college entrance exams are coming up, and everyone's time is precious. You don't need to waste yours on me. I need to work hard too. Celine froze in place, probably the first time she had heard me say something like that. I used to love sticking to Celine. I didn't get into Beijing University, but Celine did. However, in the end, she chose to stay in our hometown because of something my dad said. At the time, I foolishly thought she liked me, just that she didn't say it out loud. She must have regretted it. After all, that was her dream university. Chapter 4. Celine didn't follow me. I walked into the bookstore and picked out a few exercise books suitable for me, along with a book on essay writing. When I went to pay, I realized that my money was gone. Puzzled, I walked through the bookstore again but couldn't find it. I didn't know whether it had been stolen or if I had dropped it somewhere. I sighed and decided to come back tomorrow to buy them. As I turned around, I bumped into someone. Watch out, the person exclaimed, dropping the comic book in her hand as she frantically tried to protect the bowl of barbecue she was holding. Sorry, why is it you again? The familiar voice and tone made me look closely. It was Naomi, a close friend I met in college. How come I'm running into her now? It's quite a coincidence. Classmate, this morning, my friend and I took you to the infirmary after you fainted. Are you okay now? Oh, yes, I'm fine. Thank you. I was slow to realize. Not expecting to have this kind of encounter with her, I didn't know this in my previous life. Naomi picked up her comic book and noticed me hesitating, then took my books and paid for them as well. I saw you wandering around the store earlier, looking for something. What's up? Did you lose your money? I quickly nodded. This girl was indeed destined to study criminal investigation in the future. She observed everything so closely. I told her I would return the money to her tomorrow, but Naomi waved it off. Just treat me to a meal tomorrow. We walked out of the back street, and the number of people on the street at night had dwindled, with only a few students passing by. Seeing some delinquent youth smoking up ahead, I turned to say I would walk her home. I went to the garage and fetched a black motorcycle. Chapter 5. When we arrived at her building, the roar of the motorcycle finally faded away. She was afraid that someone upstairs might pour water and yell at us, so she asked me to keep it quiet when I left. I smirked. Can't really keep it down. My big guy is just that powerful. That sounded a bit off. When I got home, I unexpectedly ran into Celine at the entrance of the apartment complex. Strange. Didn't I tell her to go home first? How come she's even slower than me? Celine walked up with me, and there was an inexplicable sense of tension in the silence. As the elevator doors closed, she suddenly spoke. Is that girl the reason you're working so hard? No, we just ran into each other. Quite a coincidence. Her tone was indifferent, as if she didn't really care. I didn't bother explaining further. When we got home, Celine would usually finish her homework before taking a shower. While she was in the bathroom, I sneaked into her room and found that love letter. She always hid things in the same spot, underneath a pile of books. Easy to find. I opened the letter, but no matter how much I thought about it, I couldn't figure out who this Lee classmate was. Could it be someone from her class? With how cold she is, I doubt she could ever catch anyone's interest. Maybe I should give her a hand. Chapter 6. The next day, I showed up at school with dark circles under my eyes. After investigating all night, I found out that there were only 2 girls with the surname Lee in Celine's class, no boys. Math class was another blur. Even though I've been reborn, the questions I couldn't solve before are still beyond me now. It seems the gap between Celine and me is destined to remain. At noon, I was about to take Naomi out for lunch, but to my surprise, Celine was waiting for me at the door again, holding a bag with my favorite roast chicken. I told you, you don't need to wait for me anymore. Just go do your own thing. Oh, she handed the bag to me. Thanks, but you don't have to buy it for me anymore. Celine looked at me in confusion, sighing slightly. Hugh, what have I done to upset you? You've been avoiding me lately. It's not you, it's me. I've just realized a few things. As I walked towards the cafeteria, I remembered something and turned back to her, speaking seriously. By the way, when my dad said you should be my wife, he was just joking. You don't have to take it seriously, and you don't have to listen to him so much. Celine, do your best on the college entrance exams and go to your dream university. Celine frowned, seemingly not understanding why I was saying these things. When I arrived at the cafeteria, Naomi had already found a spot and was waiting for me. What's that? Naomi glanced at the bag in my hand. Roast chicken, for you. Thanks for helping me yesterday. Hey, no need to be so formal. Naomi waved her hand dismissively, but after catching the aroma of the roast chicken, she couldn't resist and took a drumstick. Once she started, she couldn't stop. She was devouring it with gusto. Just as I was about to remind her, a cold voice interrupted. No wonder you were so eager to ditch me. Are you two dating? Naomi was so startled she nearly choked. I turned around and met Celine's indifferent gaze, feeling a strange sense of guilt, as if I'd been caught cheating. Wait, no, we're not married anymore. Naomi sensed something was off between us and made an excuse to go buy some water. It's not what you think. I just met her. We're just classmates. I was telling the truth, but Celine cut me off impatiently. You don't need to explain. I won't tell Uncle, so there's no need to avoid me. She said this coldly, turning away with a hint of anger. When Naomi returned, she quietly asked me who that girl was. Judging by her gossipy expression, she probably thought Celine and I were a couple. I briefly explained our situation, and Naomi smiled knowingly. Oh, childhood sweethearts. Huh, she seems to care about you. Not really. Celine can't wait to get rid of me. Chapter 7. On Friday after school, Domingo wanted to try the new dish at the barbecue restaurant across from the school and dragged me along. This barbecue place has been around for a long time and has always had great business. The roast chicken Celine bought for me came from here. Domingo ordered 2 portions of the special roast chicken. While waiting, I overheard the staff saying they were out of stock and discussing it with the owner, Mr. Lee. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a boy in a school uniform slip into the back. The owner's son. Surname Lee. His name is Sam Lee. I saw his name on the list of participants for the English essay competition. He's a top student, always in the top 50 in the grade. Of course, he's participated in many competitions and is academically excellent, so he must have had some interaction with Celine. No wonder Celine often buys me roast chicken, because every time she comes here, she gets to see the person she wants to see. She always seems to be in a good mood afterward. I used to think it was because of me. A wave of displeasure rose in me, which I forcibly suppressed. To confirm that Sam was the one mentioned in the love letter, I approached him as he came out and greeted him. Hello, Sam. I'm a friend of Celine's. She left something behind. Ah, did she? Sam wasn't very suspicious. He checked his bag and said, puzzled, she just explained 2 math problems to me and lent me her math notebook. I don't think she left anything behind. So they do know each other. I recognized the familiar orange notebook cover. It was one I had bought for Celine. I used to ask her for help with math problems, but she was never very patient. Embarrassed that I couldn't understand, I eventually stopped asking. Maybe I remembered wrong. I'll tell her later. Domingo and I left, and he excitedly handed me the roast chicken, but I had no appetite. It turns out that when you're feeling down, everything tastes bitter. Why aren't you eating? Isn't it good? Domingo nudged me. Hey, what were you talking to Sam about? Nothing much. How do you know his name is Sam? Domingo looked around and lowered his voice, because my friend said he's the adopted son of Mr. Lee, so I remembered him. Oh, Chapter 8. Now that I knew who the love letter was for, a weight was lifted from my heart. I wondered what kind of hopeful feelings Celine had when she wrote that love letter. I'm really envious of Sam. Thinking back to when I confessed to Celine in our second year of high school, what did she say? Oh, she said, got it. Her tone was cold and distant, as if she considered it a bother. That night, after finishing my mistake corrections, I planned to memorize some English vocabulary. My phone lit up with several documents from Naomi. Naomi, these are math worksheets from my mom. You should try them out. If you don't understand something, ask me. Her mother is a tutor for an advanced math class, so I was getting a bit of special tutoring as well. I thanked her and sent a funny emoji. Suddenly, the door to my room burst open. Celine walked in with a dark expression. The first time she hadn't knocked. Did you mess with something in my room? She didn't say what, but I knew. A guilty feeling welled up inside me as I took out the letter from the drawer. Sorry, I didn't mean to snoop. I had intended to help them get together, but I didn't expect to be caught so quickly. Celine took back the letter, her face unhappy, probably because her secret had been exposed. Feeling bitter, I still gathered my courage. I know who you wrote that letter to. It's that guy from the barbecue shop. Right, since you like him, you should confess soon. He's so outstanding. What if someone else snatches him away? Anyway, the college entrance exams are coming up. Afterward, you can pursue him openly. You won't have to pretend to buy roast chicken for me anymore. Who asked you to meddle in my business? She glared at me, anger simmering in her eyes. I just want you to be happy. Happy? She scoffed. It seems like you started dating and couldn't wait to get rid of me. You used to say you liked me, but you changed your tune pretty quickly. I was stunned, not expecting her to think this way. You don't like me. You don't even like me. So why should I put all my eggs in one basket? I retorted angrily. Yeah, you'd better not put them here. I can't stand the smell, she said coldly before turning away and slamming the door. I bit my lip, seething with determination. Celine, I will never like you again in this life. Chapter 9. For the next week, I didn't say a word to Celine. My dad thought we were both just focused on preparing for the exams, so he didn't say anything. Over the weekend, I went to the library with Naomi to work on some problems. She's better than me at academics, and her thinking is more flexible, so she often explains things to me. When she feels stressed, I take her for a ride on my black motorcycle. Thinking about how we would be lifelong best friends in the future gave me some hope for what's to come. Maybe it was because I doubled my efforts this time, but my grades improved by more than 10 places in the monthly exams. My dad got a call from my homeroom teacher and was grinning from ear to ear. Celine, who was making coffee, overheard and glanced at me, scoffing softly. Impressive. Dating hasn't affected your studies. Same to you. Secretly crushing on someone didn't stop you from getting first place, did it? I deliberately retorted and turned back to my room to work on my assignments, avoiding her sour expression. There was only 1 month left until the college entrance exams. It was the most focused and detached I'd ever been, with nothing but questions and scores in my mind. I didn't even have time to think about romance. June came with its scorching heat, arriving together with the exams. This time, I was fully prepared, and I felt confident as I began writing. Even the final math problem, which I used to give up on, I managed to answer something, though I wasn't sure if the answer was correct. Chapter 10. The final bell rang, marking the end of the exam. It also signaled the conclusion of my high school journey. Once again, as I walked out of the exam room, I saw Sam standing with Celine. She seemed anxious, probably because she didn't do well on some questions, and was nervously comparing answers with him. Maybe love is truly blind, as Celine seemed more patient with him than with anyone else. I walked past them and headed toward Domingo and Naomi. We had planned to go to the amusement park, karaoke, and Happy Valley to enjoy ourselves to the fullest. In the time before the scores were released, I spent my days going wild outside, and my dad didn't even bother to control me anymore. The surprising thing was, Celine called me every day, asking when I would be home. Sometimes, if it got too late, I would take Naomi home first. Whenever Celine found out, she would always have something snarky to say, like today, which happened to be my birthday. I officially turned 18. It was past midnight when I got home, slightly tipsy, with Naomi leisurely walking me back. When we reached the building, she suddenly called out to me, "Hugh, how about I spend every birthday with you from now on?" It was too dark to see her expression clearly, and I thought she was declaring the start of our revolutionary friendship. Of course, you're my best buddy. I gave her a few hearty pats on the back, and she coughed a few times, hiding the sadness in her eyes. "You hit so hard, you almost lost a buddy." We both laughed. Just then, we ran into Celine, who had come downstairs to take out the trash. She stared at us resentfully and said with irritation, "Hugh, it's past midnight. Why aren't you home yet? Hey, you'd better go back. Your little childhood friend is calling you." Naomi teased in a low voice, waved at me, and reminded me to drink some honey water when I got home. Chapter 11. On the way up in the elevator, Celine kept nagging. For the first time, I found her as talkative as an old lady. "Are you done yet? I'm home, aren't I?" She stiffened, her tone odd. "Am I annoying? Didn't you promise me you'd be home before 10? What if something happened to you? How would I explain it to Uncle? Today was an exception, and I was with Naomi and the others. There was no danger. Even if I didn't come home, I'd have somewhere to go. Out late at night and not coming home. Where do you plan to go with her? Just because you're dating doesn't mean you can act recklessly. Celine's tone grew stern, and she looked entirely on edge. I glanced at her curiously. Why are you being so harsh? She averted her gaze awkwardly and fell silent. When we got home, as I was pouring myself some water, she spoke in a quiet voice. Today's your birthday. Why didn't you invite me? Oh, I forgot. The truth is, I didn't forget. I just didn't want to remember unhappy things on such a happy day. Celine lowered her eyes, looking downcast, and went to the fridge to get some honey for me. After a moment, she handed me a blue box. Happy birthday. Thanks. I finished my honey water but felt no urge to open the gift box. She hesitated for a while, as if she wanted to say something, but then she lowered her head and returned to her room. I didn't expect much from the gift she gave me. Every year in the past, she would give me character cards from anime, the kind you get for free when you scan a QR code on the street. Those cards were everywhere. I still had those cards lined up by my bedside. Reluctantly, I opened the box, and to my surprise, I was stunned. It was a handmade little boy, with a cool backpack, resembling me when I was younger. The person who made it was clearly a beginner. There were 2 visible holes in the weave. She actually made this by hand. This was truly a rare occurrence in this life. Chapter 12. The day the college entrance exam results were released, my dad was with us as we checked our scores. Celine, unsurprisingly, scored high as always, 698. When I saw my score, 622, tears instantly welled up in my eyes. That's great. That's really great. You've both made me so proud. My dad, his eyes red, patted my head and said he would take us out for a big dinner that night. He took a screenshot of the scores and immediately posted it on his social media to show off. By the way, Hugh, which school are you thinking of? When are you going to fill out the application? I'm planning to stay local at a 985 university. I want to stay close to Dad. Domingo and Naomi are also thinking about staying in the province. Good, good. That way I won't have to worry about you being alone in an unfamiliar place. In my last life, I didn't do well and ended up choosing an engineering major. This time, I could choose to study medicine. My mother passed away when I was very young, and back then, medical care wasn't as advanced. So, I want to do my part to contribute as much as I can. Celine didn't seem surprised by her score. Sam probably scored similarly, so they could go to Beijing University together. That's great. While my dad was on the phone, Celine suddenly asked me, "You want to stay here mainly because of Naomi, right? Do you really like her that much? What does that have to do with you?" I was starting to get annoyed with her. It felt like she was meddling more and more lately. Celine stared at me, her gaze no longer as indifferent as before. "Hugh, if you say the word, I can stay in the province with you too. There's no need. Your grades are so good. Staying here would be a waste. You should go to your dream school, Beijing University. Sam will probably get in too, so you'll have someone to accompany you." I didn't give him the love letter. Oh, my phone lit up. Naomi was calling me. Just as I was about to answer, Celine grabbed my wrist, visibly upset. "Don't you care at all?" "Care about what?" "Care about you. Who was it that said not to put all my eggs in one basket? Afraid it would bring bad luck." Even though I repeated her exact words back to her, her face instantly paled. I shook off her hand and went to the balcony to take the call. Chapter 13. Naomi's parents both work in the province, so she decided to stay here, and we ended up choosing the same university. Great. We can keep going on motorcycle rides together. After that day, I didn't pay much attention to what Celine was up to. Whether she pursued Sam or not was no longer my concern. The summer vacation flew by, and I spent my days hanging out with Naomi. We learned to drive and got our licenses, getting so much sun that we both got tan. Celine received her acceptance letter from Beijing University, and without saying goodbye, she left for school, as if she was upset with me. The life of a medical student is incredibly busy, with so much to learn. I spent my days running between the library and the classroom, and even meeting Naomi for a meal required careful scheduling. During finals, as I stared at the 2 thick, brick-like textbooks, I was almost in tears. Naomi, noticing I had lost weight, often brought me food and kept me company while I studied. "Why do you look so relaxed? Don't you need to study?" I asked, looking at her. "It's all in my head." She shrugged. "I envy everyone with a good memory, because Naomi often came to see me." Our classmates started talking, thinking she was pursuing me, and I could faintly sense that she treated me differently, but Naomi always acted as if nothing had changed, so I didn't bring it up either. After the exams, I celebrated Naomi's birthday at school, but my mind was occupied with whether I had answered the pathology questions correctly. Naomi looked at the candles and smiled. I don't really have any wishes, so why don't you make one for me? Hugh, don't be so gloomy. From now on, I'll make all my wishes for you. Will that make you smile? I forced a smile and didn't hesitate to make my wish. I hope I don't fail any classes. Please, I'm begging you. All right, the heavens have heard you. She blew out the candles, her eyes full of affection. Chapter 14. During the summer break, I saw Celine for the first time in half a year. She had chosen to study law and seemed to be busy with various debate competitions and club activities at school. In the 2 weeks she was home, we coexisted peacefully, like strangers, until Thursday night, when Celine went out with friends and came back very late. I was almost asleep when I heard a stumbling noise at the entrance, followed by a crash against the hallway cabinet. I got up and saw Celine sitting on the floor, looking dejected. What happened? Did you drink too much? I was about to make her some honey water when she suddenly grabbed my wrist. Hugh, I ran into Naomi today, and she said you two aren't together at all. Oh, I responded indifferently, not realizing how much it irritated her. Celine suddenly stood up and hugged me, her eyes filled with complex emotions. Why didn't you tell me? Why did you let me misunderstand for so long? Was it fun for you to toy with me? Do you know that I? She trailed off, her eyes red and on the verge of tears. I looked at her expressionlessly, but to say I wasn't affected would be a lie, but I only found it amusing. Celine, I explained to you back then, but you didn't want to listen. Now, what right do you have to question me? In the silence, she seemed to recall that day in the cafeteria when she saw Hugh sitting with another girl. She had to admit, it bothered her a lot. That feeling had lingered, growing stronger over time. Celine wiped her eyes and mustered the courage to look at me. Hugh, I don't think I can let you go. Can you keep liking me? Many times in the past, I had imagined this scenario, but now that it was happening, it was too late. No, I can't. Why not? She asked anxiously, gripping me tightly. Is it because of that love letter? I was immature before, unable to distinguish between admiration and love. I don't like Sam. I just felt a connection with him as a fellow kindred spirit. Is that so? But I never felt your love. All I ever felt from her was impatience and indifference. Give me a chance. Let's start over, and I promise you'll feel it. Please? She pleaded, her drunken eyes fixed on me as if I were her last lifeline. I pushed her away several times, but she wouldn't let go. The more I resisted, the more desperate she became. Hugh, please, love me again. She leaned in to kiss me, and I panicked, jerking away and forcefully pushing her back. She crashed into the cabinet, the dull thud shattering the night's silence. The pain snapped her back to reality. Celine slowly let go, her eyes full of sorrow. Hugh, I didn't want to hear any more. I quickly retreated to my room. Chapter 15. The next day, I tried to act as if nothing had happened, but Celine looked at me with guilt in her eyes. At noon, Naomi came to pick me up. We had planned to see the latest movie released today. She looked really pretty today, wearing a floral dress. When she saw my downcast expression, she got worried. What's wrong? Are you sick, or in a bad mood? Nothing. I reached up to grab my hat, but she suddenly grabbed my wrist. There were a few scratches, clearly caused by someone else. Who did this? She became alert, her police instincts kicking in. I did it to myself by accident. Naomi clearly didn't believe me. Her eyes locked onto Celine, who was sitting on the couch, and she walked over to confront her. Did you do this to him? Yes. Celine, who had been watching us since we walked in, was clearly already at the end of her patience. You little. Naomi lunged at her, and I quickly grabbed her in fear. But Celine seemed to have found an outlet for her frustration and started pulling Naomi's hair, ready for a fight. Panicking, I yelled at them to let go. If my dad came home to find this mess, he'd kill us. Stop it, both of you. Can't you calm down? I pulled Naomi away, seeing that she had a few scratches on her face. What a future police officer, acting so impulsively. But Celine didn't look any better. Naomi had received training and knew exactly where to hit to cause the most pain, leaving Celine pale. Though the marks weren't immediately visible, Naomi fell silent under my glare and meekly said, "The movie's about to start. Let's go." "Forget the movie. You're hurt. Let's go to the pharmacy and get some medicine." I angrily dragged her out the door, completely forgetting that someone else was hurt too. Celine watched us leave, covering her face in sadness. After buying the medicine, I helped Naomi apply it, and she winced in pain. From now on, no more fighting. What you learned is to protect people, not to start fights. She bullied you, and you're defending her. She pouted, clearly not satisfied. I'm not defending her. I'm defending you. If you get reported and punished, won't that affect your future as a police officer? Naomi paused, a small smile forming on her lips before she winced again. Hugh, you care about me that much? No. Yes, you do. Chapter 16. After the falling out with Celine, she didn't do anything extreme anymore. but it seemed like she really did start to like me and was trying to show it. Every holiday, she would come back to cook for me and give me carefully chosen gifts. On my birthday, National Day, and Christmas, she was always around at school. I watched her struggle with sleep deprivation, dark circles under her eyes, from rushing back by plane. I only felt like she was wasting her time, but she seemed to care only about whether I was happy. On my birthday in my senior year, I was moving to another campus. Naomi was interning at the police station and had been sent out on a mission, so she couldn't be there to celebrate with me. Celine was in the kitchen cooking all my favorite dishes. I stared at my chat window with Naomi, distracted. What are you looking at? Dinner's ready. Nothing. I wonder what Naomi has been up to these days. Is her job dangerous? What if she... Hugh! Celine's sharp voice snapped me out of it, and I realized I was sitting in front of her. You've been talking about her since I got back. She was clearly displeased but also helpless. Oh, sorry, Hugh. When will you ever look at me? Let's eat. This soup looks good. Celine sighed, feeling like she had tried her best, but why couldn't things go back to the way they were? Late at night, as I was about to sleep, my phone lit up. Naomi, open the window. I quickly pulled back the curtains and saw Naomi standing outside, waving something glowing in her hand. I ran down, surprised to see her. Didn't you say you might not be back from your mission? Yeah, but I couldn't help it. I promised someone that I'd spend every birthday with him from now on. She handed me a glowing jar and a box with my favorite sneakers inside. The fireflies in the jar flickered in the darkness. It's for you. I found them during the mission and thought you'd like them. Thanks. I smiled at her, feeling like I had something to say. Naomi, She seemed to guess what I was about to say and quickly interrupted. Hugh, happy birthday. I understood her hesitation. Given her job's unique nature, I swallowed my words and changed my response. Thank you. I'm really happy. Chapter 17. While Naomi was interning, I was pursuing my graduate studies. By the time Naomi became a team leader at the police station, I had just started my hospital internship. Seeing suffering and death every day was emotionally taxing. Then one day, several severely injured people were brought to the hospital. Naomi was among them. She had been stabbed in the abdomen, her spleen was damaged, and she was bleeding profusely. My mentor operated on her for a long time before the red light outside the operating room finally went off. I took a moment to check on her. Her face was pale, and it looked like she might not make it. With red eyes, I silently prayed that she would pull through. Late at night, I was by her bedside, reviewing neurosurgery notes, when I suddenly saw her fingers move slightly. I looked up and met her gaze. Hugh, did you save me? No, it was my mentor. I had only helped a little. I stood up to check her condition, asking if she felt dizzy or nauseous, making notes, and only then did I feel relieved. You look so professional now. Naomi smiled, her eyes bright. Of course, I've worked hard for many years. Then I'll be counting on Dr. Jiang from now on. Don't say that. Just don't let me see you in the hospital again. She smiled, her hand lightly touching my fingertips. After hesitating for a moment, she didn't hold on. A nurse came to get me for rounds, and I gave her a few instructions before leaving. Then it was back to the usual busy routine. Naomi stayed in the hospital for a month, with many colleagues coming to visit her. Every time I did rounds, her friends would give me knowing looks, as if they all understood something. But Naomi didn't show any sign of anything. Even on the day she was discharged, she didn't say much, simply addressing me as Dr. Jiang as usual. I handed her the medicine, explained the instructions, and tried to subtly probe her. Hey, Naomi, don't you have anything to say to me? What? That I'll follow the doctor's orders? She played dumb. I smiled helplessly. Chapter 18. In the following years, Naomi frequently went on missions, traveling all over the country, and sometimes I couldn't reach her. Celine remained just as impressive, landing a job at a top law firm after graduation and becoming a star lawyer within a few years. She's wealthy now and occasionally sends me strange but expensive things. Some of them I haven't even had time to open, and they're all piled up in my dad's study. The hospital is so busy that sometimes I barely have time to eat. Celine came to visit me a few times, but we hardly exchanged a few words before I was off to work again. Still, she's persistent, always finding time to contact me and occasionally sending gifts or meals to the hospital. Sometimes, when she's drunk, she calls me and repeatedly asks, Hugh, what do I have to do to make you like me? Will you tell me, please? Why are you treating me like this? You were the one who liked me first. How could you just change like that? I was wrong. I shouldn't have said those things. Will you come back? Can we go back to how we were? Hugh, I really miss you. No one's feelings can change just like that. In all the years we were together, and in the 10 years we were married in my past life, she had so many opportunities to say she loved me. Since she didn't, it's best to let it go. It's time to move forward. Chapter 19. Time flew by. and I found myself turning 32 this year. In my previous life, it was in December of this year that I died in an elevator accident. I wonder if there will be any accidents this time around. The ringing of the phone interrupted my thoughts. Naomi's cheerful voice came through. Dr. Jiang, my birthday is next week. What do you plan to get me? I don't know. This mischievous girl has pretended not to understand my hints for years, making it seem like we're not a couple yet more than just friends. And now she wants me to get her a gift. Humph. She chuckled softly. The bureau is planning to promote me. I'll be sent on fewer missions in the future, and I'll be able to settle down here in the province. Oh, and then, I played dumb, just like her. Then, this year, I'll make my own birthday wish. It's a bit special. Do you think it will come true? Why don't you give it a try? I feigned indifference, but a warm feeling welled up inside me. Before we could finish the call, a nurse rushed in, saying the hospital director was calling for an emergency meeting. I quickly grabbed my notebook and headed over. The director announced that an 8.0 earthquake had struck Tongcheng, and our hospital needed to send personnel for support. No wonder I felt dizzy at noon. It wasn't just my imagination. My name was on the list, so I quickly packed my things and joined the team heading to Tongcheng. When we arrived, the place was a scene of devastation and wails of despair. My colleagues and I didn't have time to dwell on the tragedy. We immediately joined the relief efforts. Supplies were insufficient, and access roads were blocked, leaving us without many necessary medications. We all posted on social media for help, and Celine contacted me right away, saying she could donate supplies. Me, thank you. Celine, how are you thanking me? Is this the only way you'll talk to me? Me, I have to go. Celine, stay safe, and reach out if you need anything. Chapter 20. Late at night, just as I was about to switch shifts with a colleague, a sudden tremor sent everyone into a panic. Get under the table, someone shouted. I took one step forward, but the ground suddenly gave way. Chunks of earth fell from the collapsing ground. Then came the darkness, and I lost consciousness. The aftershock wasn't as strong as the initial quake, but it caused significant damage. I was trapped underneath, pinned by debris, unable to move. I don't know how much time passed. My body started to go numb, and I lost feeling in my hands. My mouth was dry, and I didn't even have the strength to call for help. The darkness reminded me of that moment of freefall in the elevator. Was this all predestined? Am I still going to die? My phone in my pocket lit up. I saw that it was Naomi calling, but I couldn't answer. How awful. Even after being reborn, I still couldn't be with the one I love. My consciousness began to fade, and my body started to lose warmth. Suddenly, I heard frantic voices from above. Hugh, where are you? Chapter 21. It felt like I had slept for an eternity. When I woke up, I found myself back in the hospital where I work. Hugh, you're awake. How are you feeling? Is there anything uncomfortable? Naomi was looking at me anxiously, tears welling up in her eyes. I shook my head. How was the rescue? Are the colleagues who were trapped with me okay? They're all fine, and the situation has stabilized. Do you know you've been asleep for half a month? She said, exasperated yet relieved, holding onto my hand like a precious treasure. Thank goodness you woke up. She lowered her head, and tears fell onto the back of my hand, warm and intense. Did you rescue me? Yes, I couldn't reach you, and then our team was sent to help. Thank you. Thank me for what? You've saved me before. We're even now. Naomi called the doctor to examine me, then bought nutritious meals and fed me spoon by spoon, just like taking care of a child. I stayed in the hospital for a few days to recover, and Naomi kept a close eye on me the entire time. On the day I was discharged, I hadn't forgotten about Naomi's birthday. Confessing is something the guy should do first. After all, I packed up my things alone and secretly prepared some surprises with the help of friends. In the evening, I waited for Naomi to arrive at the hospital. As she approached the entrance, rose petals suddenly began to fall from the sky. Before she could react, I got down on one knee, the ring I had prepared shining brightly in my hand. Naomi, I love you. I've loved you since high school, but I was afraid of interfering with your career, so I never dared to tell you. Now, will you give me this chance? Naomi, will you marry me? Her colleagues showered her with petals, and mine joined in the excitement. She froze for a moment, her face turning bright red. With tears in her eyes, she nodded, blushing for the first time. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a familiar figure standing on the edge of the crowd. Celine was holding a thermos, looking like she had rushed over, sweat beading on her forehead. Her face was pale as she watched the scene, her eyes filled with sadness. I will, Naomi said loudly, smiling. I slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Finally, I had my answer. Naomi hugged me tightly, bursting into tears of joy. Wow, I've never seen the captain cry before. You don't get it. This is love. I'm so jealous. Is it too late to go back to high school? I don't want to be single anymore. That evening, I received a message from Celine. Are you really going to marry her? Hugh, I've been with you the longest. Why is it her in the end? Won't you look at me again? I deleted the message and blocked her. Turning off my phone, I held Naomi close and drifted off to sleep peacefully. Chapter 22. On the day I married Naomi, Celine didn't attend, but she sent an incredibly expensive diamond. When Naomi saw the gift, she immediately started making sarcastic comments, thinking Celine the mindset of a thief hasn't been let go yet. Then she had the diamond set in a collar and put it on my dad's husky. A year after I got married, Celine was still single. Later, when Naomi gave birth to a daughter, Celine was still single. Even my dad advised her to find someone, pointing out how many people were pursuing her. She quietly sipped her drink, her expression dark. After dinner, Celine looked at the little girl in the cradle, pressing her lips together. Hugh, she really looks like you. Yeah, if only back then. She didn't finish her sentence, holding back whatever she was about to say with a slight sigh. Naomi frowned, glaring at her with suspicion. What are you trying to do? He's my husband. Legally. Don't get any ideas. Celine sneered. Only temporarily legal. Life is long. Who knows? Maybe one day you'll get divorced. She thought bitterly, feeling a pang of jealousy. Naomi was ready to throw a punch again, but with the family around, she held back. On the way home, Naomi was fuming, itching to curse out even the stray dogs we passed. Later that night, while we were asleep, Naomi suddenly sat up and asked me, Hugh, where did you put our marriage certificate? Why? I want to hide it. Stop being silly. I tried to go back to sleep, but she started rummaging through drawers, contemplating hiding places. Epilogue. My name is Celine. From the first day I came to the Fu family, I knew that Hugh and I would never be equals. Even though Uncle treated me well, if anything happened to Hugh, he would blame me for not looking after him properly. So, I always stayed close to Hugh, making sure he didn't get into trouble. Everyone said I was his child bride. I didn't argue, because that's exactly what I was, being dependent on others. I hated that feeling. By extension, I also hated Hugh. He was always clinging to me, wanting to do everything with me. I couldn't refuse him, but deep down, I resented it. To avoid making Uncle feel like he had adopted an ingrate, I had to please Hugh, making sure he didn't get upset. As we grew older, he became more and more handsome. I found myself often stealing glances at him, and when he caught me, I'd pretend to be aloof and tell him he was vain. I didn't want to fall for him. I didn't want to lose the last bit of self-respect I had. But in our second year of high school, Hugh confessed his feelings to me. I couldn't help but feel happy inside, though I forced myself to suppress it. He seemed a little disappointed by my response, but the next day, he was back to clinging to me. One day, he got sick, and the medicine was too bitter, so he asked me to get him some chicken. At the barbecue shop, I met Sam. He had just dropped a freshly grilled chicken wing by accident, and his adoptive father scolded him, calling him useless. If I hadn't been there, I'm afraid that man would have hit him harder. I observed Sam's cautious demeanor and felt like we were the same. After that, I often used the excuse of buying barbecue for Hugh to visit the shop and see Sam. Every time I bought the food, I didn't rush back. I would sit in the shop, feeling like I could finally catch my breath. Those were the rare moments when I didn't have to care about Hugh or Uncle's emotions. Sometimes we talked about our families, and Sam would sigh, but then he'd go back to studying hard, like a resilient weed. I thought that I should like a boy like him. Only he could understand my feelings. I wrote Sam a love letter, but I never gave it to him. It always felt like my feelings for him weren't strong enough, and it wouldn't be fair to him. Lately, Hugh has been acting strange. He seems to want to get rid of me. I saw him laughing and talking with Naomi and figured out they were probably dating. So much for saying he liked me. It turned out he moved on so quickly. I was secretly pleased, thinking I could finally be rid of him, but at the same time, I was angry. Why did he have to like someone else? Then, I noticed the love letter was missing. I instinctively suspected Hugh had taken it, and I was flustered and angry when I went to confront him. To my surprise, he was calm, as if it didn't matter to him who I liked. I was really annoyed. When we were filling out college applications, I told Hugh I could stay behind with him, but he didn't care about me anymore. Furious and upset, I went off to Beijing University, far away. Once I got there, I regretted it. I wasn't by Hugh's side, but Naomi was. Hugh stopped paying attention to me, and even when he did, Naomi's name was always on his lips. I hated that. I wanted to go back to the time when he was always clinging to me, but no matter what I did, we couldn't go back. Years went by, and Hugh and Naomi still hadn't gotten together. I thought I still had a chance, but Hugh was always busy and barely acknowledged me. No matter how expensive the gifts I sent him, he no longer smiled at me like he used to. I was terrified. When Hugh was injured during a rescue mission, I finally broke down and realized I couldn't wait any longer. I made his favorite soup and rushed over to see him, but it was too late. I regret it so much. Naomi was right. I had so many years to hold on to Hugh, but I didn't. I let him down. I pushed him away with my own hands. Hugh, please be well.